Hey, do you want to build a stronger family, create a better life? Well, that's what Divorce with Heart is all about. It's a show where I guide you along your divorce and co-parenting journey using the heart's wisdom, intuition, and legal expertise. So sit back, take a deep breath, relax. My name is Gina DiPrima. Let's get started. Hello. Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing well on this Monday afternoon. It's October already. I can't believe it, but I'm excited because it's my birthday month. And I do have something special planned for you. More on that in just a sec. And sorry, we're jumping on maybe a minute late. We had a couple technical difficulties that I'm just still trying to sort through on my screen, but hopefully this will work for us. So today is episode 24, and I'm talking about ways that you can deal with the absent parent. And if you saw the show notes or saw the posting on Facebook, you'll see that the summary is basically, who does he think he is? He hasn't been around in years, and all of a sudden I'm supposed to wait on him, be flexible, be accommodating to his schedule, encourage the kids to see him no matter how they feel when he hasn't even been around. And I want to tell you that I get where you're coming from, 100,000%. And guys, I'm sorry that it's going to sound like we're bashing you here today when we're talking about he hasn't been around. It does happen the other way, but in all my years of practice, I think I've had one case out of, thousands and thousands and thousands where the mother was kind of absent. So just for the sake of the conversation, guys, don't take it too seriously or personally, I should say. Don't take it too personally, but I'm going to be talking about you as the absent parent. And the long and short answer to all those questions and that frustration that you feel is yes. He can come around, and you do need to take the calls and, encourage your kids. But we're going to dive into that a lot deeper, and I'm going to explain why my answer is a yes to all of this. But before we do, again, I just want to thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I'm just so grateful to have you. The show is really growing. The Facebook group is really growing, and I know that's because of you, and I know that you're helping to spread the word, and I just so appreciate that. So keep doing it. If you're in other Facebook groups for divorce, separation, single parenting, co-parenting, whatever the case may be, I would just love it if you could just give a plug to the show, direct people here, direct them to the Divorce with Heart Facebook group, because, this is really about creating a movement and just changing that paradigm that has been around for so long, where divorce is this god-awful, devastating, disastrous thing. And if you've been listening to me, that my belief is it doesn't have to be that way. And that's what all of this is about. So I really appreciate you doing that, listening and spreading the word so that, slowly but surely we can really start changing things. And, on that note, I don't know, maybe some of you saw it. I glanced at it. It was in the paper. And before I actually saw it in the paper, someone else had told me that there was a recent study done on the divorce rate. And I don't have all the details in front of me, but the long and short of it is that the divorce rate is dropping. And I think the conclusion that the writer drew, or, the study was reaching, was that millennials aren't divorcing. I don't know if that's really 100% of what's going on. It could also just be that, millennials aren't marrying, or they're handling things different, or, maybe they're divorcing, but they're just doing it in a more respectful way, a way where, it's more dignified and they have more integrity and more respect for one another, which is what we're all about here. So I thought that was interesting. If you read that or heard that, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that article as well. And if you're really enjoying this show and getting something out of it, I would love if you just do me a little favor, go to iTunes or go wherever it is that you're listening. And if you have the ability to leave a rating or a review, that would just mean so much, especially in iTunes, because I think the more people that comment and rate the show, then the easier it is to find, of course, for others who, just go in the search bar for divorce help. But it also really boosts where you, I think, show up in the library or the proposed show. So if you could do that, it would just be really, really, really awesome. And I would thank you for that, of course. And today, I kind of, mentioned it there at the top. It's my birthday month. So, I'm in the spirit of giving, I guess. and if you've been listening also that I talk a lot about the work that I do with individuals in my divorce intelligence group, where it's a smaller setting. We meet personally, and we really work through a lot of the emotional trauma or the emotional roller coaster that you might find yourself in when you're dealing with a breakup. And in the interest of that, and my birthday month, I am giving away 2, maybe 3 scholarships. So if you've been curious about it, but maybe you just haven't booked a call or you're worried because you're thinking, well, I don't have any money and I just paid a lawyer and, I've got to pay my bills. I understand. I know how it goes. And I'm going to give away 2, maybe 3 scholarships. And it's super, super easy. All you have to do is book the call with me. You go to doorwaytoheal.com to do that. There's a quick little application, and it'll hook you right up with my calendar. So then we can talk about your situation, and we can strategize what would be best for you. And if you want to be considered for the scholarship, all you have to do is just leave a review, which I'm asking for anyway, right? Leave a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening. See if you can maybe screenshot it, send that to me on an email or just some way for me to see it, and then I'll just ask you to submit me something, let me know why you're interested. Why do you want to join the group? What is it that makes you feel like you can't afford it? And why is the time right? So really just pretty simple. So don't hold back is my point here. Don't hold back. If you are in the middle of a divorce and it's stressing you out and you're frustrated and you're having a hard time, really regulating your emotions, feeling in balance, and you're just overwhelmed and you're worried, then give me a call. Let's talk about it. Let's get you out of that mindset, because you really don't have to suffer. You don't have to struggle. And you certainly, I was going to say sure as shit. I don't even know if I could say that stuff on here. But that's me. If you know me, that's how I talk. You don't have to suffer alone, basically. Okay? So jump on it. doorwaytoheal.com. And one last special announcement. Tonight, so it's October 1st here for me in Buffalo, New York. And tonight at 7 o'clock, I am going to be offering a free master class where you can learn exactly how to erase divorce anxiety, find your center, and step into the woman that you are meant to be, which, as you know from listening, I view that as being a warrior of peace, not a victim. And so if you're interested, that's really easy too. One of the best ways to get on and get registered is to join my email list, which you can do that from the Inflow Radio show page. And if you're not able to do that, but we're connected on Facebook, I put a bunch of posts on Facebook. So you'll see the registration link there too. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be live. It's going to be free. And it's tonight at 7 o'clock. So again, don't let anything stop you. Don't let anything stop you. Jump on the call. Let's get connected. Let's see how I can help you on a deeper, more personal level. Okay? So, all right. Here we are. I don't want to waste any more of our time here with announcements. Let's jump into the topic about dealing with the absent parent. All right. Oh, I almost forgot. One last announcement. We're live. We're still live. It's the number here is 1-760-456-7277. So if you are able to catch me live right now, then give me a call, even if it's just to say hello, talk about the weather, you have a question. I don't care, whatever it is. Whatever's on your mind, give me a call. I love to talk with you. And also, just something behind the scenes I'm thinking of here is I'm actually considering changing the time in the day for this show so that hopefully we can generate a little more live interaction. So if you think that would work for you, I'm looking at maybe Tuesday, Wednesday evenings, okay? Send me a shout out on Facebook. All right, so the absent parent, okay? Now when we say the absent parent, let me back up. There's more than one kind of absent parent, right? I mean, we have the kind of absent parent who just maybe you got a divorce and just kind of dropped off the face of the earth, hasn't been around. Maybe they've got their own problems with substance abuse or drinking, or maybe they're just flat out selfish, Maybe they're in jail. Who knows? But there's the kind of absent parent where they're just gone, right? Like they're pretty much gone for a very long period of time. Could be a period of years, or maybe it just feels like years, all right? But they're not around. And then there's that other kind of absent parent, which is kind of more like the sometimes parent, the parent who is sometimes there, sometimes not. When it's convenient, he's there, doesn't want to get his hands too dirty, and just really just drops in on your life, drops in on the kid's life when it suits him. And again, I feel so bad, guys. I feel like I'm just bashing on you here, but I'm really only doing it just because it's easier to talk about it in this way. So there's that kind of absent parent, right? And my advice to you on both is very, very similar. All right. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So what do you do when you find yourself in this kind of situation? Well, the long and short of it is you don't fight it. You don't fight it. I think fighting it and trying to more or less force that absent parent to be a good parent or be an involved parent or be the kind of parent that you deem to be a quote unquote good parent, I think it's fruitless. I think it's a waste of your time. I think it's a waste of your energy. I think it's a waste of, your peace of mind, because in the end, I really believe all you're going to get is a whole lot of stress, a whole lot of aggravation, and a huge legal bill. So the short answer is don't fight it. And just, you got to roll with it. You kind of just got to roll with it. Now, don't get me wrong. I have had plenty of people come into my office with this exact scenario and want to hire me for that very purpose. Maybe they already have a custody order where the other parent is to have access every other weekend, a couple days a week, and they just don't do it. And they're fed up with the dropping in and dropping out and that kind of thing. And they want to fix it. And they want to force the other parent to be a parent and force them to exercise their time. All right. That happens a lot. And my answer to them is really the same as what I'm telling you now. You cannot force somebody to be a good parent. You just can't. We are talking about adults here, and we all have free will. And not only that, you're talking about somebody whose opinion of you, like it or not, is probably not that good. So they're the last person in the world, you're the last person in the world that they're going to want to listen to or take advice from or feel like they're trying to please sometimes, right? So I get it when you're feeling this level of frustration and you're feeling just desperate and you're reaching out because you can see it in your child and you know that your child is sad. Maybe your child's angry. Maybe they're starting to act out at school, and maybe in your mind, you are seeing that correlation having to deal with the absence of the other parent. I'm going to give you a great example of this and why I say you don't fight it sometimes. I was once working with a woman, and she might be listening right now because she has a very, there's a place reserved in her heart, in my heart for her. Because, she fought one of the hardest, most expensive, drawn out legal custody battles ever. Okay. And the reality is that her husband was absolutely full on fighting for this joint shared custodial relationship. Now, what does that mean? Joint shared. Joint means mutual decision making, shared time. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about a situation where your children are being split pretty equally between mom's house and dad's house. Okay. And he kept fighting for this, even though, even during the marriage, he really wasn't involved with their care. He really, while the matter was pending even, and like I said, it was drawn out for a period of a few years, he wasn't really that involved. Every time he had some access or visitation, he was dumping the kids off at his mother's house. He just wasn't doing the things that you would expect somebody to do if they're arguing and fighting to have their children 50% of the time. Now, of course, I think we all know this on some level, that pursuit or that desire is often motivated by money, right? Because a lot of people think that the more often they have their children in their care, then the less they're going to have to pay in child support. And there may be some truths to that, but it's not so black and white like people think. And that's really a topic for another episode, but I'm just going to leave it there for now, okay? So I think in this case, yes, he, like most people, are, when they pursue this shared time, when their actions don't reflect a true interest, it's a money motivation. It's a desire to not want to have to pay, okay? The hard part here, and the hard part that she had to deal with, is we were going through a legal system that didn't really care, didn't really see what was happening, only was seeing his fight and what the battle was. And the way that it works is that either two people eventually reach an agreement, right? You can compromise and you negotiate on a schedule, or you go to a trial and you let a judge decide. Well, fine, that's easy to say. But the reality is trials cost a ton of money. I mean, and people, that money, either you don't have it or maybe you do have it, but isn't it better spent on your child's college education or something else than just arguing and fighting over access and parenting schedules when you're ultimately losing your right to have any control or say? Because literally when you go to a trial, you are rolling the dice and you're letting that man or woman in a black robe tell you how you are going to live your life. And I tell this to my clients all the time. That is something that I would never gamble with. Never, because nobody knows your family, nobody knows your children like you do. And I would never just gamble that away, because you don't know what kind of mood the judge is in or what their thoughts are. And in this particular case, this example that I'm very slowly and longly getting into, I guess, the judge was not very supportive, didn't even care, in fact, that there was an order of protection in place between this woman and her husband, didn't care that he was really not even exercising access with his kids while the matter was pending. All that mattered is that he was insistent on having 50% of the time, and either we reach an agreement or we go to a trial and spend $50,000 more and not know where it's going to end. So, I mean, simple math, right? Of course, we reached an agreement. And not surprisingly, right? Just after we settle everything, what happens? Do you think that he was insistent upon his shared access? Absolutely not. 100% no, because he never wanted it to begin with. Okay, so it never happened. We settled the case, and I think he ends up moving. He actually left the state, I think, like within a short period of time after that. So how does that saying go? Like, you can't, I don't know, the tiger's stripes, you can't change the stripes. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, though. Sometimes you've got to look deeper than what the statements are at the actions. And that was certainly the case here, because she knew that the reality was going to be as the reality was. He wasn't that interested to begin with. It was more or less like this feigned fight just for the purpose of kind of like saving face. Because that happens a lot. Especially once you've got other people involved, all of a sudden, you see dads who aren't really interested, but yet they're not going to come forward and say that. Who wants to say that? Nobody wants to admit, well, I don't really care that much about my kids. No, you got to save face in front of your lawyer. You want to save face in front of the judge. You want to try to fit this mold of what's expected, right? So that's what happens. And then we have more drawn out legal battles and people taking positions that aren't even aligned with what they really want. And certainly he didn't want time. He wanted to pay less money, but he would have paid less anyhow. So that's another story. My point is, she had to settle because it wasn't worth another $50,000 or whatever it is to get some unknown result or the same result. And you can't force somebody to be a good parent. You just can't, especially after the relationship has been broken down. Again, you're the last person in the world that they're going to want to listen to. So I think I even remember saying to her, look, he didn't listen to you when you were married. He didn't take your advice then. What makes you think that now that you're divorced or you're going to be divorced, anything is going to be different? Right? I mean, think about it. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't add up in my mind. So we reached an agreement. And in the end, he wasn't around. He becomes an absent father. And now what? Now, how do you deal with that? And that's what we're talking about. And I think this was one of her questions, too, when she wrote in, or subject that she wanted me to address. And that's what we're going to talk about. But first, before I get there, I just want to, again, reiterate over and over, I know I'm repeating myself, the legal battle isn't worth it. Fighting it isn't worth it because you're going to just spend the money, waste your time, waste your energy, when really you could just be doing something else, okay? And to bring somebody into court because they haven't been seeing your child for a few years, you're almost also setting up that same dynamic that I just spoke of all over again. You're going to bring them into this arena where, now other people are looking at them. Other people have expectations of them. And it sort of prompts this whole like saving face, kind of protecting my ego type of thing where they're going to fight. And in fact, I can give you another example just like that. Another woman that I know, she was parenting her daughter all on her own for, I'd say, at least 8 years, doing everything on her own, not with the help of her daughter's father, but with the help of other family members and friends. So, she's the one who got her into schools, got her into doctors, appointments, helped her with her homework, packs her lunch every day, makes sure she has friends, makes sure she's involved in activities, takes her to dance, takes her to cheer, takes her everywhere she needs to go. And this little girl is, of course, just thriving. And this mother is nothing short of a supermom, I'm going to tell you. She's done it all and then some, and all the while working. Same scenario. She comes to me and she's upset because, she knows and she feels, her heart breaks, I guess I'll say, for the fact that she knows that her daughter's father's not around, has never been around. And what can she do about it, right? And I know that there's some of you out there who are feeling the same thing. This generally starts from a place of wanting to protect your children, wanting to help them so they're not hurting, right? And that's where she was at. And of course, I told her the same thing that I've started off telling you here today. I really don't think we should file. You can't force him to be a parent. No judge can do that. Even if we have an order that orders him to have certain days of access. That doesn't mean he's going to do it, right? Just like in my first example. So I don't think we should. I think it would, in the end, be a waste of your time, a waste of your energy, right? Just let things lie. Well, she really didn't think he was going to show up to court. She really, really thought that this would be a simple in and out kind of a process. She said, Gina, I understand what you're saying, but, the big but, I've got to get something in paper. I want something in paper. And really, I want him involved with her life. So if he does show up, then that wouldn't be a bad thing. That would be good because I want him involved in her life. And that's where this starts from, right? That's where it stems from. Well, so fast forward, we file the petition, and not only does he respond, he hires a lawyer. And here we are in that arena that I was just speaking about, where now you've got the added pressure of people, involved in your life, having to look good, wanting to save face, wanting to protect your ego. And so now it hasn't been an in and out thing. It's a long, drawn out battle because, you've got to be careful about the doors you open, because once they're open, they're opened. And that's what's going on here. It's not that, okay, he's going to come in and recognize, sure, I haven't been around for 8 years. You've been doing an excellent job. You're a wonderful mother. It's not going to go down like that. Instead, it's, I want. Now that I'm here, I want joint custody. I want 50% of the time. And by the way, you may have done all of this, but, maybe it was too much because now I'm here and I want my time too with my daughter. So we're going to have to cancel some of these activities. And, now that I'm in the picture, I want full rights and I want to be a part of all of these decisions. And, you just can't do it anymore. So moral of the story, like I just said, be careful of the doors that you open, because had this door not been opened and opened by her, life would have just continued as it was, right? So these are the reasons why I say don't fight it. Fighting it, bringing legal action because the parent is not around and not acting in the way that you would want them to be is not the best way to protect your child. And it's certainly not going to be the best thing for you because, again, you're wasting time, you're wasting money, you're going to get exhausted, you're going to get stressed out, you probably have to lose time from work and going to court, and for what, I get it. You want to protect your kids. You want to make sure that they grow up to be stable and healthy and know that they're loved. You don't want them to grow up feeling like they're abandoned. I get all of the reasons and all of the motivation behind this energy and drive to bring the absent parent into court. All right. But I just want to make sure, I guess, if you take one thing away from this week's show, that you just remember to be careful of the door that you open. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some alternative ways that you can deal with this idea of having an absent parent, ways that I think are better suited or better lined up to actually protect your kids and help your kids, rather than starting some crazy amount of litigation and finding yourself maybe with your back against the wall and having to, fight just to protect your rights, or fight just to keep and preserve all the good that you've already built up and all the good that you've already done for your child. So let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll explore some alternatives that I think are better at protecting children in this situation. Thanks. Hi, it's Gina here. Did you know that every week I meet with a group of people just like you who are struggling with the pain of divorce? I help them to feel good about themselves again, make better choices, overcome their fears. I call it divorce intelligence. And you know what? It doesn't matter where you are or what stage of the process you're in. It could be before, during, or even after, because we meet online. It's super simple. All that fighting, the crazy legal fees, the constant anger, the frustration, it's not mandatory. You don't have to struggle through this alone, and you don't have to question if you're doing the right thing. There's a better way, and I know it works. Every week in my group, I draw on my legal experience and conscious uncoupling processes to help guide you through the process. And you know what else? I tap into the spiritual realm. I bring ancient healing techniques and soul-level guidance to you so you can experience deep, everlasting change. So if you're ready to heal and save yourself some time, money, and years of frustration, not just for you, but for your kids too, then give me a call and join Divorce Intelligence. It's a totally free call. All you have to do is go to doorwaytoheal.com. That's doorwaytoheal.com. I know you deserve a life of peace and happiness. So if you're ready to really divorce with heart, give me a call. Let's work together. Some of you have questions about your partnership, marriage, or co-parenting situation. I'm here for you. Give me a call in today's live episode by dialing the U.S. number 1-760-456-7277. That's 1-760-456-7277. Talk to you soon. All right, we're back. So, okay, I think you get my point, right? From the first half, if you have a parent that's absent or here sometimes, gone sometimes, pretty preoccupied, I really, again, I don't think litigation and trying to force them to be a good parent is the answer. I think you're just going to produce more stress on yourself and on your children. So, some alternatives. First, I really want to encourage you that Well, let me back up. I really just want to encourage you to keep the focus on yourself and your parenting, because odds are you're doing a phenomenal job. And, that's what your child needs. Your child needs to have you, needs to know that they're loved, needs to know that they're cared for, and needs to know that they can depend on you so that they can feel safe and secure. So focus on what you are doing and be the best parent that you can be. Okay. And if that means that you do need some help, because after all, being a single parent is very, very difficult, then engage help, right? I mean, talk to your other family members, or maybe look into a local boys and girls club, or, getting your child involved with other activities and other kids, just so that you can maybe just take some of the burden off your shoulders alone. So look to others in your community and in your family to step in and help you and to provide more love and support for your child, rather than trying to force somebody who's not interested to be interested. Okay? Because if you can keep your child busy and keep them happy that way, that's going to go a real long way. Okay? And if you think about it too like this was another thought that just came to me. I mean, have you ever in your life spent time with somebody when you knew that they just didn't really want you around? I mean, because just think about it. That's kind of what we're setting our kids up for by forcing another parent to do something that they don't really want to do. And if you've ever been in that situation, it's not good. I mean, that you can feel it, and that the odds are you're going to be ignored. So your kids will be ignored, right? Or if they're with this other parent who doesn't really want them around, maybe he's going to have a short fuse and be super irritable, or just tell him, just go to your room and shut the door and leave me alone, right? And who wants to put their child in a situation like that? So think about it like that as well. And you may not think that that's happening, but I can tell you in all of my years in representing hundreds and hundreds of children, it does happen. I hear from them all the time that they don't want to go over to so-and-so's house because they're bored. Well, they're bored because they're going there and they're just being told, go sit in your room, or just go do this, out of my hair. You're just here. Leave me alone, kind of a thing. So again, it just goes back to what I said. Don't force somebody to be something they're not. If you see that your child is struggling, or if they come up and they ask you questions, because they will, of course they will, the most important thing that you can do is just be there for them. Just be there for them with an open heart, an open mind, listen to what they have to say, and validate what they're going through, okay? Nothing more, nothing less. And what I mean is this, validate by saying things like, I know what you're going through. I know it's not easy for you. I know you really miss him. And that's really okay that you're feeling that way. And it's natural that you're feeling that way. It makes perfect sense to me that you would be feeling that way. But the truth is, honey, he's the one that's missing out. You are such a wonderful, bright little girl. You have so much talent. Your smile lights up a room. You're a great dancer. Whatever the case may be, you fill in the blank. But this is the point. Stress to your child, how wonderful they really are. Stress to your child what their unique qualities are, how lovable they are. And the reason why I'm saying this is because kids internalize almost everything, right? If the parent's not around, I guarantee you that your child on some level blames himself or herself. They internalize it. They think it's because of them. So you really want to drive home the fact that it has nothing to do with them. That being said, I don't mean you get off into this rant of, he just doesn't have time for you because he's too busy with his girlfriend, or, he's a drug addict, or he's out stealing cars, so now he's in jail, or whatever the case, right? I'm not saying you get into that. You don't, in fact, get into that. It would be completely against what my advice would be. My advice is validate them. Let them know that you hear them, that you're a safe place, that they can come and they can talk to you, and that you're just going to listen. And you're just going to love them in response. You're going to highlight for them what a great person they are, and that really it's the other parent's loss. And you're going to stress that it isn't their fault and that it has nothing to do with them. So praise their strengths, talk about their value, and don't give your opinion or even what you believe to be the facts about the other parent and why they're absent, all right? Don't get into this parent bashing, even if you feel like your child wants you to, because I know that there's some kids that will do that. It's like they're kind of trying to bait you a little. It's a little, I don't know what the word is, but it happens. Kids are smart. Don't take the bait. Don't parent bash, because even though in that moment you might just feel like it's the right thing to do and you're bonding with your child over something, in the end, in the long run, it's not. It's hurtful. And I've seen it time and time again where it completely backfires. And it backfires because, one reason, you never know when the absent parent's going to come back into the picture and want to see your child. And the reality is when and if he does, and when and if he brings the matter to court, the odds are the judge is going to force your children to see him. So would you rather have your children go and see somebody, when they're completely scared or angry, or, they've had all this poison in their brain? Or do you want them to at least kind of approach it with an open mind? Because it's really going to dictate their response, their experience, and ultimately how they live their life and how they are with you. And if at the end of the day you want an emotionally stable child, then you don't want to poison them or set them up for this situation where then they have to go and see the other parent with all of this, anger coursing through their blood, right? Or these memories that aren't possibly their own. I mean, here's an example. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to kids where there has been an absent parent, and I'm trying to gauge, when I'm talking to them, how do they feel about the situation? What do they know about the situation? And they'll parrot back to me stories of abuse, or they'll parrot back to me stories of how dad has a girlfriend and things like that, where it's just no possible way that the child could know this information on their own. And it's so obvious, and it certainly doesn't make the other parent look good. And the reason why I say there's no way the child can know on their own is because a lot of times the examples that they're giving me, they would have been way, way, way too young to ever have been able to conceptualize it, remember it, have any, real firsthand personal knowledge of it. So you can tell it comes through. So think about that. When and if there comes a time when you do have to drop your children off, what kind of state of mind do you want them to be in? Do you want them to be terrified? Do you want them to be so one-sided because they were your little ally? Or do you want them to at least go into it with an open mind? They'll draw their own opinions. They'll draw their own conclusions. They'll see the other parent for who the parent is. Trust me, they don't need your help to do that. They've got brains. They've got hearts. Kids are very smart. They're more intuitive than we give them credit for. So at the same time, when you're having this conversation and they're asking you questions, don't minimize either. Don't minimize. Don't make excuses for the other parent. And here's something that I've picked up along the way in talking with other counselors. Sometimes we have parents, with substance abuse issues, and that's why they're really not involved. It's important, at least this is what I've heard from a counselor's perspective, to not tell children that the other parent is sick. Apparently, if you use the words sick or your other parent is sick, then that causes another layer of worry in the child's mind. So it's been told to me, and I'm just passing it on to you, that it's really better not to phrase it in that way. It's better, apparently, to say things like, Daddy's just got some problems right now that he's trying to work through. And, once he works through it, then we'll get a call or somebody will let us know. Something like that is okay. Again, you're not going to get into the details. They don't need to know the details. If you are getting in the details, I think it's more for your sake, quite honestly, than your child's. So be very, very careful about that. Keep it general, but validate what they're going through. Don't dismiss it. There's going to be days where your child might even say to you, I hate him. He doesn't care about me. He never calls me on my birthday. He never got me anything. Don't minimize it and say, well, you don't mean that. You don't really mean that. He's your father. Don't make excuses for him either, like I said, but just be that warm, loving, listening ear and say, honey, I know how much you're hurting. I understand what you're going through, and I understand how this is so difficult. And, once your daddy works out whatever he's got going on, I'm sure he'll be able to, we'll hear from him. And if not, we're going to do this instead. Something, you know what I mean? You want to make sure you are constantly letting them know that it's not their fault, that they're loved, that they're important, and moving on with the day. If you see that your child is struggling in school or having behavior problems or having some emotional problems, well, then that's the time when you really, really, really want to consider bringing in a counselor, bringing in a specialist to help your child. I really want to caution you here, don't try to be your child's counselor. It's great to keep the lines of communication open. It's great for your child to be able to come to you and ask you questions and for you to be able to respond in all the ways that, we just talked about. But it's really, really hard too. It's really, really hard because you're emotionally invested in this. Not only do you have a history with the other parent, you're emotionally invested because it's affecting you on an ongoing basis through the eyes of your child, and you're so connected to your child. So that's why I think it's so important that even though you want to be there for your child, bring somebody else in. Bring someone else in who really can be impartial, who's just a third-party sounding board, who has the special skills to help your child be able to understand and make sense of what's going on without having to feel any shame and without having to place any blame. And if you think your child is too young for this, keep this in mind too. there's a lot of things out there that are really in the realm of like traditional counseling. I mean, there's art therapy, there's gaming therapy. Those are just the two that come to me off the top of my head. But so there are things out there. And I'm sure that you could find something either in talking with your pediatrician or a Google search. But when you start to see issues, lashing out, behavior problems, emotional problems, that's really when you want to bring somebody else in to help you. Okay. At the end of the day, I know what you want. You want peace. At the end of the day, you want structure and you want to have some control over the situation, and you want your children to be happy and stable. So that's what you have to do. Keep the focus on you and provide that stability and provide that support and that love and that encouragement, and let them know over and over and over again, and then over again some more, how much you love them, how much they mean to you, what an awesome person they are, right? And that it is not their fault. It is never their fault. You know, when I was writing this and thinking about this show, I made a little note here, and it said, it's better to be raised by one loving parent than in the middle of two fighting parents. I don't know. I'd love to know how you'd feel about that if you really think about it, because even now, as I'm looking at it again, this note I wrote, I think it's true. I think it's true. It's nice to have two loving parents in your life, but some kids don't. And your kids are going to go to school with kids just like them, or they're going to work with people just like them. If we can at least give them a good base and a good, loving, supportive network, and even if it's coming from one person, then that is better than two fighting parents who are constantly engaged in a power struggle, constantly going to court. And that's what would happen if you're trying to force someone to be somebody they're not. So again, a huge part of this, a huge part of being able to effectively deal with the situation where you have an absent parent, is to take good care of yourself. Take good care of yourself, because you're doing the job of two right now, right? So take good care of yourself. Make sure that you have an outlet for your own feelings. Make sure that you have somebody that you can confide in, somebody that's impartial, a counselor, a therapist, a coach. All right. Because if you don't, the emotions are so big and so overwhelming that they really can disrupt your life and disrupt your kids' lives. Just the other day, I had a mother in my office bringing her children in to see me, and I represent her children. And I don't even think that she realizes what she's doing. But I'm going to give you another perfect example of what not to do. She's got two little kids. They're in my office. I'm there to talk to the kids. And right away, she starts going off about how one of my clients, the little kid, wasn't doing as well as this mother thought that she should be doing in school. I don't want to say she was failing, but maybe she had a couple of quizzes and she didn't do as well as the mom thought she should have been doing. And the mom's going off saying, she just doesn't care. She's failed the last 3 quizzes and it's all because of her dad. It's all because of her dad, because he just keeps blowing them off, and he's blown them off the last 3 times and he doesn't care about them, and on and on and on and on. She didn't see her kids' faces. I did. And you could see them just withdrawing, just closing up inside, and you could see the stress and the worry on them. And she didn't care. I asked her, please do not speak that way in front of your kids. You really shouldn't speak that way in front of your kids. It didn't matter. Okay. So this is the prime example why you need to take care of yourself. Get yourself some help, because if you don't, these emotions, they can so easily get the best of you. And like this mom, you may not even realize it. You may not even realize the harm or the damage that you're potentially causing your kids by laying out that stress right on them, right in front of them. It's just too much. It's too much. So here's another part of this dynamic here, this dilemma, is when the other parent is going to come around. What do you do? How do you prep your kids? I'm going to tell you, I think, and of course, all of this depends on the age of the child, but less is more, especially if you're dealing with somebody whose track record is very inconsistent. I don't know that you have to tell your kids in advance, well, you're going to see daddy on Saturday or Sunday, or, less is more, meaning why set them up just to be let down? If you're the adult, you know that the other parent is unreliable, you know that the other parent is inconsistent. So do something else. Don't set them up. Don't prepare them for it, because there is the possibility of them being let down. I really believe that it's better to be surprised than to be let down. So keep that in mind. And always have a backup plan. Always have a backup plan, because you never know, especially if that's the history here. Have something else planned that you can do, that you could take your child away from the house so that you can distract them if, in fact, there is some kind of a letdown. And again, just watch how you deal with it, because, of course, they're going to be hurt. Let them cry. Let them be upset. But love them and support them and validate their feelings, right? And just keep on reminding them of their strengths and their value, and that it's not their fault. Never jump on that bandwagon of bashing and blaming the other parent. It'll backfire. I guarantee it. I've seen it backfire many, many, many times. I know it's difficult. I know this is a difficult situation, and I wish I had more to share with you. I wish I could wave a magic wand and tell you that there's one thing you can do and it'll get the other parent involved and parenting the way you'd want, but there just isn't. There just isn't, because we all have free will, and that's what you're dealing with. So if this other parent wants to absent himself or herself from your kids' lives, then you just got to step up and be the best parent that you can be at all times, and just don't prepare them for more pain, because there will probably come a day when that other parent comes around, and then you can let them draw their own conclusions about, what happened, why it happened, what didn't happen, that kind of a thing. You don't want them having ideas that you put in their head, because when and if they do have that moment in time with the other parent, guess what? There's going to be a conversation. And you don't want them to learn from the other parent that, mommy was lying the whole time, that it's really mommy's fault. Trust me, that's the last thing in the world that you're going to want to see. So we've only got a few minutes left, and I was hoping to address some questions from Facebook. But I just think we're running out of time. So you know what? Next time I'm going to start the show off with your questions. So if you have any thoughts between now and next Monday about this show or any other past shows, just shoot me something on Facebook if you want, or please call in. Calling in is even better. But at the top of the hour next time, I'm going to address questions. And I know that there's a few of you out there. So thank you for listening. Please leave a rating for me on iTunes, and we'll meet again soon. Thank you so much for joining me today. Come back next week and be sure to visit my website at dpremalaw.com to book a call. Or let's connect on Facebook at DePrima Law, where you can join my group for more support. Please remember that the information shared is for general and entertainment purposes only, and that by calling in or messaging me, we are not creating an attorney-client relationship, and my advice is not intended to be legal advice. For specific legal advice, please contact a lawyer in your jurisdiction.
This show is brought to you by InflowRadio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.